Hola, señores. Just wanted to drop this little video in to kind of give us a jump start on the semester, beginning with chapter one. We've already gone over the nouns and articles for chapter one. I'll leave you to do the numbers 0 to 30 on your own, but I wanted to jump in and take a look at these subject pronouns with this verb ser. Ser is a very important verb that you'll be looking at with respect to time in the next section, but I wanted to give you a heads up and just give you some background information about that. So, with any verb in Espanol, you will need to use subject pronouns. So, in English, that would be the I, the you, the he, the she, the it, the we, the you, the they. Pero en Espanol, we have a little, they look a little different. And you'll see on the next slide that they have 6 different, if not 8 different subject pronouns. No, for I, we're going to use yo. For to familiar, we're going to use the to form. You may have heard in the past, ¿Cómo estás tú? Or ¿Cómo tú estás? Or ¿Cómo está usted? When we're using the formal version of you. And for he and she, él and ella, the él looks familiar because we use that with the articles. But notice that this one has an accent over the E. So make sure that you make a note of that because it does become very important once you get further along in your Spanish journey. The accented letters may change the meaning of the word, may change the tense of the word, but it is very important in Espanol. For the plural forms, we have nosotros. You see nosotros y nosotras with the we masculine, we feminine, vosotros, you masculine, you plural masculine, you plural feminine, and ustedes, which would be the plural form of usted. And then you see the last two, ellos and ellas. Ellos would be the plural form of él. Ellas would be the plural form of ella. No? So we have 2 subject pronouns that mean you, and these come into context when we're addressing a friend, a family member, or a child you know well. We use the to form. For a person who is older than you, essentially, or superior at work, or you have a much more distant relationship, you're going to use usted. No? So if you look at the examples below, tú eres de Canadá, ¿verdad, David? David, he's calling him by his first name, so he has somewhat of a familiar relationship with him. So he's going to use the to form. And you see the tú eres, eres being the to form of this verb ser, tú eres. Jumping over to the next example, usted es la profesora de español. Are you the Spanish professor? Usted es, so they're using usted, the formal subject pronoun, usted, and the formal form of you with the verb ser with es. Usted es la profesora de español. No? So just some differences. Not only are we using a different subject pronoun with to and usted, we have to use the corresponding verbs that correspond to those 2 different subject pronouns, eres and es. So with nosotros, we have some masculine form. We have a masculine form and a feminine form. Nosotros, vosotros, and ellos refer to a group of males or to a group of males and females, which we looked at previously with the subject pronouns or with the articles. No, the feminine plural forms nosotras, vosotras, and ellas can refer only to groups made up exclusively of females. No, so you see in the examples below, in the first one on the left, you have a mixed group of males and females, or of males, no? You have all males. In the middle, you have a mixed group, and on the far right, you have all females. So we're going to use the female form of that subject pronoun, nosotras, and vosotras, and ellas, no? So just make a note of that. We talked about that earlier, looking at the articles, but notice that that is a recurring theme throughout your Spanish journey. There is no equivalent, Spanish equivalent of the subject pronoun it. Generally, it is not expressed in Espanol, no? So we don't have an it, but it is included in the verb. Es un problema. Es un problema. No, we know that it's included in the verb es, no? Es una computadora. Es una computadora. No, so we understand that it is included in the verb es, which is the third person singular form of this verb ser, which we're going to look at. So let's jump into ser, because now we have our subject pronouns. Now we need to align the verbs, the correct forms of the verbs with the subject pronouns, ¿no? Bueno. So in some of the previous study and some of the dialogue situations, you've seen this verb ser use. You've already used several present tense form of ser to identify yourself and others and to talk about where you and others are from. Ser is an irregular verb, meaning that it does not follow the forms, the regular patterns that most verbs follow. You need to memorize the forms which appear in the chart on the next slide. No? You'll notice on the left-hand side, we see the subject pronouns, which we just went over. Yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotras, nosotras, vosotros, vosotras, ustedes, ellos, ellas. And then you look in the middle column where we have the forms of this verb, ser. No, in English, we typically have about 3 forms of a verb per verb. We don't use 6 as the way they do in Espanol. No, so with the yo form will be soy. The to form eres, which we just looked at, él, ella, usted, es, and you may also use that for it. It, when we looked at es un problema, es una computadora, we were using that form, the third person singular form, es. Nosotros, nosotras somos, vosotros, vosotras sois, ustedes, ellos, ellas son. And then you look on to the right to read the English translation, I am. And you may notice that in further study in the next couple of slides, they may include the subject pronoun or they may omit the subject pronoun. So if we have a question, por ejemplo, ¿de dónde eres? No, where are you from? We may not necessarily need to say ¿de dónde eres tú? We may not need to include the subject pronoun for that verb. ¿De dónde eres tú? Or we may say soy de México, soy de Atlanta, soy de Arizona. Or we may say yo soy de Arizona. It doesn't change the meaning of the statement at all, but in Espanol, you do have the option to omit or include the subject pronoun. Bueno, some uses of ser. To identify people and things. ¿Quién es él? ¿Quién es él? Who is he? Es Felipe Díaz Velázquez. He's Felipe Díaz Velázquez, ¿no? Es Marisa, ¿no? And you may notice that we omitted the subject pronoun in that picture at the bottom. In both of those, es Marisa. No, we could have used ella es Marisa, or but they chose not to. So one of the things you can do in Espanol that does not necessarily translate into Inglés, es Marisa. Looking at the next column, ¿qué es? Es un mapa. Es un mapa de España. With this one, using the verb es un mapa. Bueno, notice that we use the masculine singular indefinite article un mapa, even though mapa ends in a. Es un mapa de España, ¿no? Es una maleta. Es una maleta. It is a suitcase. No. Again, they're omitting the subject pronoun, and there is no it in Espanol, so we're just going to use the es una maleta. No. So this is the first use of this verb ser, using it to identify people and things. Ser also expresses possession with the preposition de. There is no Spanish equivalent of the English construction of the apostrophe s. So we're going to create that statement. No, we're going to build that statement using a noun followed by de, followed by the owner or the person who possesses it. Por ejemplo, en estos ejemplos, de quién es, whose is it, in these examples that you see here, de quién es, we use that preposition de for ownership. De quién es el diario de Maru. So we have the verb es, followed by the noun, followed by de, followed by the owner, the person doing the possessing. Es el diario de Maru, ¿no? ¿De quién son? Whose are they? Son los lápices de la chica. Son los lápices de la chica. Notice that we had to use a plural verb here because we had a plural noun with los lápices, ¿no? Los lápices es plural, the formal form of lápiz, el lápiz, ¿no? So we're using the plural form of this verb, of this noun, los lápices. In addition, we're using a plural form of the verb ser with son. Follow that by the preposition de, meaning ownership, and then we have the person doing the owning the pencils, the girls. No, son los lápices de la chica. Son los lápices de la chica. So when de is followed by an article, this is one of two contractions in Espanol. There are only two. They combine they combine to form the contraction del. No, de does not contract with la, las, or los. Only with el. Only with your singular masculine article. Es la computadora del conductor. No, it's the driver's computer. Son las maletas del chico. No, son las maletas del chico. So in this case, just like in the previous cases with possession, we're using the verb ser, followed by the noun that's being possessed, las maletas, the suitcases, and we use a plural form of the verb ser because we have the plural form of las maletas. No, a plural noun there. Del is our possession preposition, del chico. No, those are the boys, they are the boys' suitcases, no? They are the boys' suitcases. A ver, the next one we're looking at one that's probably more familiar to you. You may have used this question or seen it in the dialogue situations where we're expressing origin. Again, we're using the preposition de for origin, so we use it for not only for possession, but for origin as well. So with this question, ¿de dónde eres? ¿De dónde eres? Yo soy de Wisconsin. ¿De dónde es usted? They're using a different form. She's using the formal form of that with usted, the formal form of the verb ser, es. ¿De dónde es usted? And her response, yo soy de Cuba. No? So the questions you've probably seen before, which we have reviewed in the dialogue situations, and you've already seen those in looking at the vocabulary at the beginning of this chapter. So it's not really anything new. But just giving you some more reinforcement about what those about using this verb ser and what that looks like with this. No, some other examples. ¿De dónde es Juan Carlos? Where is Juan Carlos from? Es de Argentina. No, so again they've omitted the subject pronoun él, but they just had es de Argentina. No, es de Argentina. ¿De dónde es Maru? ¿De dónde es Maru? Es de Costa Rica. Es de Costa Rica. So again, they've omitted the subject pronoun ella, no, because we could say she's from Costa Rica. Ella es de Costa Rica, but they've omitted that. They've omitted the subject pronoun ella, just as they did with él, with the first example with es de Argentina. Ella es de Costa Rica. No? So the next one we're looking at is profession. Profession or occupation. Don Francisco es conductor, no? Don Francisco es conductor. He's a driver. No, so when you get those cognates, and if you're not familiar with what cognates are, they are words that look identical or very similar in two different languages, such as conductor and conductor. Be certain that you're pronouncing this in español, no? The O always has an O sound. The U always has an U sound. So with this one, you have three vowels, so we need to hear three syllables. Conductor. Conductor. No? He's a driver. The next example, yo soy estudiante. Again, another cognate does not necessarily look as much like student as does conductor, does to conductor. But I am a student. Yo soy estudiante. Notice again the number of vowels that you have in this word, estudiante. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 5 vowels, so we need to hear 5 syllables. E, U, I, A, E, estudiante. No? So that's how we're looking at these. And I'll probably go over more of that in a live session of how to speak Spanish or how to pronounce Spanish or how to look at Spanish and while reading it. No? So, this is the last one, professional occupation. Don Francisco es conductor. Yo soy estudiante. I am a student. With the next one, Marta es profesora. She is a teacher. We do not use the una after ser when referring to professions unless we're describing that person in their profession. No? Marta es profesora. No, we don't need to say es una profesora, but we can say es una profesora excelente. No? Es una profesora excelente. She's an excellent teacher. So that is the lección en ser. Please take time to review this. We will be speaking more on this week. In the second part of this lecture, I wanted to jump in with telling time. This is one of the more difficult concepts of learning Español in this first chapter. So I wanted to give some more instruction on that, and we'll talk about this some more this week as well. But in both English and Spanish, the verb ser is used to tell time. You may say in English, it is 3 o'clock, it is 4 o'clock, it is 2:45, it is 10:45. We do the same thing in Español, no? Pero en Español, we're using the question you may see in some of your VHL Central assignments would be ¿Qué hora es? You probably also saw this in the first video with Cedric the Entertainer. ¿Qué hora es? No, that was a question throughout that video. People trying to find out what time is it, but they gave you a little spin off on that. No. Bueno, so when telling time, use es la with una because it's singular, and son las, no? So again, we're using the singular form of ser, es, and the plural form of ser, son. Those are the only two forms we're using with this. Be sure that if you use es, you must use a singular article, no? Es la una. And with all the others, because all the other numbers are plural, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, we're going to use a plural form of that verb, son, followed by a plural form of the article las, no? So, why are we using la and las, no? Bueno, hora, if you look back up to the question, ¿Qué hora es? Hora es femenina, no? So we're going to use a feminine singular article with hora, la hora, no? Will be the actual word for that, no? La hora. So when we're telling time, or when we're asking what time it is, or when we're telling the time, we're going to use the feminine singular articles or feminine plural articles with la and las, no? Es la una, which you see below. Son las dos, son las seis, no? So if we're telling time on the hour, which you see in these examples here, es la una, son las dos, son las seis. We're telling time on the hour, no? So we haven't added any minutes to that yet, but we will momentarily. So how do we add minutes? So we add minutes between 1 and 30 by using E, no? You pronounce that Y, E, like the letter E in English, no? It means and. So son las 4:05. So it's 4 o'clock and 5 minutes. So that would be one way to look at this if you were trying to transliterate that in any way. Son las 4:05, son las 4 o'clock and 5 minutes, or 4 o'clock plus 5 minutes, no? Same thing with the clock on the right. Son las 11, it's 11:20. So we have 11 hours and 20 minutes, no? Son las 11:20. Son las 11:20, no? So recuerde que este V in español has a B sound. Sounds like a B in boy that we would say in English, no? So again, once you're saying that in your homework assignments, in your dialogue situations, in your discussion posts. So make sure that you have that pronunciation of the letter V sounding like the letter B, especially if it's at the beginning of a word, no? Son las 11:20. Son las 11:20, no? Bueno, so you may use either y cuarto, 1/4, or y quince for 15. No, you may remember that number from 1.2 with the numbers 0 through 30, which is why we did the numbers started with 0 through 30, because we were going to be using those to tell time no, to express 15 minutes or quarter past the hour. For 30 minutes or half past the hour, you may use y media or y treinta. Y media or y treinta, no? Bueno, es la 1:15, no, if you look at the examples at the bottom, es la 1:15, son las 9:15, son las 12:30, son las 7:30, no? So, so just some times to, or some other options to express time. Son las 7:30, 7:30, son las 12:30, 12:30, son las 9:15, son las 9 o'clock and 15 minutes. Es la 1:15, it is 1 o'clock and 1/4 of an hour, or 15 minutes, 1:15, no? Just some options you may have use of once you start getting into your VHL Central assignments. You may have to express those times there, no? So we've looked at time between 1 and 30 minutes. How do we look at time between 31 and 59 minutes? No? We use a completely different construction. There's another video on Canvas explaining that, but this is something, again, just some reinforcement as to what that would look like. No? So you express time from the half hour to the hour in Spanish by subtracting the minutes or a portion of an hour from the next hour. So if you look at 12:45 is what we would say in that first clock there. No? In English, we would say 12:45. In Espanol, we would say 1 o'clock minus 1/4 of an hour. No? Or 1 o'clock minus 15 minutes is what that transliterates to. No? Same thing with the next clock. 3 o'clock minus 15 minutes is 2:45. 3 o'clock minus 15 minutes, no? Son las 3 menos 15. So before, when we're using the letter Y, E for 1 through 30, we're using menos for 31 to 59. So that's one of the things I would look at if in your homework assignments. Are those, first look at the minutes. Are the minutes between 1 and 30? Are they between 31 and 59? That will tell you which construction you're going to use. And once you determine that, then you can go be about the business of adding the numbers or finding out the hours of, and subtracting from 60. So you may notice that those menos cuarto, menos quince, we're subtracting that number from 60, being 60 minutes in an hour. So that's how we get those numbers. So moving right along, son las 3 menos 15, 3 o'clock minus 15 minutes. Son las 8 menos 20, or 7:40, would be 8 o'clock minus 20 minutes, no? Son las 3 menos 10. Son las 3 menos 10, no? 3 o'clock minus 10 minutes, or 2:50, no? 60 minus 50 is 10, which is where we get that menos 10, minus 10 minutes. Backing up to the previous clock, 7:40. 60 minus 40 gives us the menos 20 there. Same thing with the 15:15, no? So that's one way to look at this. And we'll talk about this some more this week going into your first exam, no? To ask at what time a particular event takes place, we're not going to say qué hora es, because that's asking the time itself, but a qué hora. ¿A qué hora es la clase de biología? No? And notice how they respond, no? ¿A qué hora es la clase de biología? To respond, we say la clase es, using the verb es, a las 2, no? So we need to include that a, at 2 o'clock, no? Or ¿a qué hora es la fiesta? No? ¿A qué hora es la fiesta? A las 8, no? And you may notice in this one they left off the verb es, but we understand that we're talking about a time, so they do have the option to leave it off in this case. In the previous cases where we're asking the current time, you cannot do that. But in this case, you can, no? Some other vocabulary that we're looking at with this, some useful words and phrases associated with telling time. Son las 8 en punto. En punto se dice sharp, on the dot. Es el mediodía. Es el mediodía. It's noon, no? Middle of the day. De is masculine, so we use the article or we use the article el, no? Es la medianoche. Noche is feminine, so we're going to use la for la medianoche, no? Some other phrases on the right hand side: de la mañana, de la tarde, de la noche, no? So we're talking about at night, and you may have a question about that being how do we determine afternoon and night? It's usually around between 5 and 6 is when we switch over from la tarde to la noche, no? May differ in different countries, but you'll have some clues as to what that looks like in terms of your homework and other assignments, no? So, lastly, ¿qué hora es? Son las 4:10. Son las 4:10. ¿Qué hora es? Son las 4:25, no? So just pay attention to the constructions that you see here, that if our minutes are between 1 and 30, we're going to use E, and if our minutes are between 31 and 59, we're going to use menos, no? So son las 4:10, he's saying son las 4 o'clock minus 10 minutes, so 3:50, you would say. And obviously on the right, son las 4:25, 4:25, no? So, as I said, we'll talk about this some more if you want to, we'll talk about this some more leading into your exam.